Wow, yesterday was a big day for me to take off. I thought, hey, it's a Saturday. I got some stuff to do. I won't worry about putting out anything. What could possibly happen? And we have three pretty, I think, interesting news stories. In addition to the Rittenhouse stuff, I thought on Friday, after I sat through, you know, 10 hours cumulatively, between Thursday and Friday of the Rittenhouse trial, if I just sum that up and add my thoughts to that, that should get me by through Saturday, because the trial's not going on. What really important stuff could happen? And then the FBI decides to raid James O'Keefe's apartment. I believe he lives in Westchester. Now this is the FBI, the feds, so I mean they can touch you anywhere. But I've always felt like it was a big vulnerability for Project Veritas to be based in the state of New York, because New York has a big incentive to try and persecute Veritas. They tend to publish stories and leaks that are counter to the interests of the New York state government, which of course is run by Democrats. But again, in this case, it was the FBI, not the state, who's cracking down on Veritas. Apparently, the FBI was looking for Ashley Biden's diary, which is something that I didn't even know was missing. But I guess the FBI is on a nationwide hunt. You have the Federal Bureau of Investigations is trying to hunt down Ashley Biden's diary. Why is this so important? Why is someone's diary being lost or stolen the purview of the FBI? Well, because the FBI they're secret police. They are political police. They are not actual, police who investigate real crimes. They do that sometimes, sure, but that's not their main purpose. That's not why the FBI exists. You see, we had police before the FBI who investigated murders and rapes and all sorts of other terrible crimes. But before the FBI, we didn't have a secret police force that was at the beck and call of the President of the United States, who could go and break down the doors of journalists' homes or apartments and ransack them looking for evidence that might be, let's say, unfavorable for the sitting President of the United States. And honestly, I would have this is the Streisand effect. I never heard anything about Ashley Biden's diary. Project Veritas never published anything from Ashley Biden's alleged diary because Project Veritas wasn't sure that it was real, apparently. That's what O'Keefe says. He says, I didn't even publish this thing because I bought it from somebody, and I couldn't figure out if it was real or not. Somebody could have just made it up and made a fake diary and said, oh, this belonged to Ashley Biden. I'd never even heard of Ashley Biden. I was pretty sure that Joe Biden had a daughter. I believe he had sons and daughters. He had 3 or 4 kids, I believe. Although, then again, didn't his daughter die in the car wreck with his first wife? I thought he lost a bunch of kids. I don't know. Maybe he had more kids with Jill. I don't know. I'm not, I don't pay attention to politicians' personal lives for the most part. But I guess old Uncle Joe and the FBI were very concerned because this alleged diary of Ashley Biden's, which James O'Keefe apparently didn't think was real and wasn't going to publish, which has now, of course, been leaked everywhere, because I'm sure that O'Keefe was not the only one who had access or to a copy of this. It says, a few unfavorable things that you would not want leaking out. I don't want to get into details, because, again, I'm not sure if this is real, although I guess they pretty much confirmed it. Because if this was a fake diary, if this wasn't real, the FBI would not be knocking down James O'Keefe's door looking for it. They would not be investigating a stolen diary if this diary didn't exist. So what the diary says, and who knows, I'll probably get taken down for this. I mean, if the FBI is going after O'Keefe for possessing this alleged diary, if I allude to any of the details in it, I'll probably get in trouble too, but oh well, here we go. Biden's daughter talks about feeling sexualized at a young age. I'll say it that way. And there was some inappropriate contact between her and her father. although she doesn't say anything definitive. It sounds like she's trying to reflect on her past. Now, you could either read into this saying, oh, okay, well, these are repressed memories. She's trying to, deny the truth to herself, or you could say that she is, if you're trying to be favorable to Joe Biden, you could say, oh, well, his daughter here in her diary is clearly exaggerating the past and projecting malice or bad inappropriateness onto otherwise innocuous encounters that she had with her father. Specifically, the diary refers to, I guess, occasions in which she would take, showers with her dad. Now, is it completely wrong for a parent to bathe with their young child? No, I think for much of human history and many cultures, this has been something that was normal. Now, maybe in our hyper sensitive culture of the 2020s and the 20-teens, in which anything having to do with children, people are constantly jumping to the conclusion that, oh, well, someone must be a predator, because those people do exist and they're a problem. They're obviously a very big problem, and there are predators like Jeffrey Epstein who go for years because they're powerful without ever having to face consequences for what they do to minors. And parents, I remember back in the days of when photos were still developed. I'm old enough to remember that, before digital cameras. If parents would, take photos to be developed, and, like, let's say they had a picture of, their baby or their child, in the bath, nude. The parent might think, oh, that's totally innocuous. It's just like, with the cliche about the parents showing the fiance naked baby pictures of the guy. A lot of places did not want to develop those photos because they said, well, this could be CP, depending on your interpretation. And so whether or not these sorts of activities, which are mentioned, I guess, only once in this diary, this alleged diary, because I don't know if it's real, but it certainly appears to be real based on how the FBI is acting. This could be interpreted, in a favorable or unfavorable manner. And given the history the habit that Joe Biden has of grabbing onto people and clearly making young girls uncomfortable, grabbing them on the shoulders at events and things, this plays into people's suspicions about him. Now, does that mean he's a bad guy in this sense? Does it mean that he has any ill intent? No. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that putting your hands on someone in a non-private areas is something that should be perceived as inherently sexual. Now, can it be? Yes. And I think that the problem is that with it Biden has had in the past is that he doesn't know how to perceive what other people are feeling. It's kind of like this, I think, a similar problem that Cuomo had. With that particular picture that was going around of him grabbing a woman's face, with his two hands. And she clearly looks very uncomfortable and is like, scrunching up her face and looks grossed out. These guys don't, they can't, they're oblivious. That's what I think. I don't think that Biden was trying all these years in front of national television cameras. I don't think he was trying to, molest people. And it wasn't always young girls. Sometimes it was adult women. He puts his hands on girls and women, on their shoulders, and, grabs them, and, and he does it on TV. So this is not some calculating predator who is trying to, feed his lust in private. This is somebody who is not aware that he's doing anything wrong. But hell, look at me. I've spent 10 minutes on Biden's stupid habits. The real story here is that the FBI is going after O'Keefe and Veritas simply for doing their job. This is perfectly ordinary press work. You buy information from sources, sure. People pay sources all the time. And if the source stole that information, that's not the fault of O'Keefe, who didn't even publish it. I mean, I don't know how many times we have to go back to the Pentagon Papers, but the guy who they tried to put in prison for the rest of his life was Daniel Ellsberg. It was not the New York Times. They did not lock up the New York Times. They did not seize their building and shut them down, because no, the New York Times is a vaunted, American institution. They're the press, and the press is supposed to be able to publish, whatever they want. And this is clearly something that would be in the public interest if, the president's daughter had been, or felt that she had been molested at a young age. That's news. And so clearly this is just another example of the regime trying to shut down unfavorable press. Veritas is not favorable to this administration or to the administrative state in general or much of the corporate elite. They just had that big expose of regarding the vaccines. It's a private sector problem. They've also done, other stories that don't get as much attention that go after powerful people. And so obviously they're going to be treated very differently by the authorities than a press outlet which might do the same things in principle, the same things legally as Veritas, like the New York Times or the Washington Post. But the difference is those two organizations serve the interests of the regime. They are lapdogs for powerful people. They are controlled by powerful people. You have, the Sulzberger family that owns the New York Times, and you have Jeff Bezos that owns the Washington Post. But there's no man that I think is better equipped mentally and intellectually to deal with this than somebody like James O'Keefe. He's been waiting for stuff like this to happen. It's happened to him before. And I think he knows how to deal with it at this point. So I wish him well. I think he will do well. It will be very interesting because when you have someone who knows how to deal with this and is probably going to do everything right on his end, to the extent that this goes anywhere, is going to expose how corrupt the FBI and the judiciary, the executive branch and the judiciary of the United States government, how corrupt and partisan they are. Because whatever happens to Veritas and O'Keefe, it's not going to be because they did anything wrong. It's going to be because they're being persecuted. And I don't say that just, because I like them. I say that because they're very careful. They are expecting to be persecuted, and so they don't want to give their enemies any ammunition. These are smart people. And after what's been done to Assange, I think that O'Keefe probably understands that he's next on the chopping block. After what they've done to Assange, what they've gotten away with so far, I think that they will feel emboldened to crack down on all critical press. And they're going to go after them one by one, in order of effectiveness. They're going to go after people like O'Keefe. Then they're going to go after, the Glenn Greenwald types of the world, and on down the line. Now, there's still a chance for this to be stopped. Perhaps it won't make its way all the way through the court. That's possible. The courts might put an end to this. Hopefully they will at some point. But it's going to be a long time before we know that. And frankly, O'Keefe and Veritas, they've been charged with nothing. They've just been raided. This raid is an attempt at intimidation, plain and simple. It's to make them think twice before they even procure evidence, in an investigation, let alone report on it. Because again, O'Keefe did not report on this. He did not publish it. He procured this evidence. He was doing an investigation. Didn't really go anywhere. And that was the end of it. And they said, no, you're not even allowed to look into the family of the President of the United States. How dare you? Know your place, you little tool. That's what they're trying to tell O'Keefe. They're trying to tell him, don't even look into us, or we will come after you. It doesn't matter if you find the truth or if you publish the truth. We don't want you looking in that direction. And so obviously this is going to have a chilling effect. Hopefully it won't have a chilling effect on Veritas, but on other people perhaps. They're going to look at that and say, you know what? I better not mess with powerful people. I better not look into what they're doing behind the scenes. I better not look into any potential checkered past that they may have, or else the FBI is going to be breaking down my door. And remember, folks, when you're talking to the FBI, it's as if you're, as far as the law is concerned, it's as if you're sworn under oath. And so they don't call it perjury. If the FBI, catches you making a contradiction in your statement, but the effect is the same. The FBI sets perjury traps for people. It doesn't matter if they think that you did something wrong or not. They want to compromise as many people as possible, because then that turns you into an asset of the FBI. It's the same thing that like the Stasi would do. The Stasi would get a little dirt on someone and they'd say, okay, we'll leave you alone, but you have to go get more dirt on other people for us, or you have to be of use to us. And then that person was owned by the Stasi for the rest of their lives. FBI does the same thing. And the easiest way they have of doing that is by talking to people. So never talk to the FBI. If anyone from the FBI, and they don't have to tell you that they're with the FBI, I don't think even. They don't have to tell you anything. So I'm not telling you be skeptical or just be afraid of every single person you meet thinking, oh my God, they might be the FBI. But if you ever know that you're talking to the FBI, just tell them to go to hell and say they should be ashamed of themselves, and that you're going to assert your Fifth Amendment right to tell them to F off.